Hello, this is Amanda Eubanks, the speech therapist at West End Elementary, and I'm going to be reading to you Hooray for Wadney Wat. Poor Wadney Wat. His real name was Rodney Rat, but he couldn't pronounce his R's. To make matters worse, he was a rodent. A rodent. "What's your name, Wadney?" asked the other rodents. "Wadney Wat," whispered Wadney. "What's another name for bunny?" they asked knowingly. "Wabbit," he murmured. "And how does a train travel?" They winked at each other. "A twain travels on twain tracks," Wadney replied miserably. All of this teasing day in and day out made Wadney the shyest rodent in his elementary school. His squeak could barely be heard in class. He gnawed lunch alone. And while the other rodents scurried and scooted about at recess, Wadney hid inside his jacket. Then one day, as the rodents were taking turns doing wheelies, a new rodent, a very large rodent, barged into the classroom and announced, "My name is Camila Capybara. I'm bigger than any of you, I'm meaner than any of you, and I'm smarter than any of you," she added. "So there." With that, she accidentally, on purpose, elbowed an ear, bumped two noses, stepped on three tails, and lay down on a desk. Fur prickled in fear through the classroom. She sure was bigger than any of them. She sure looked meaner than any of them. Was she smarter than any of them? "What's 2 plus 2? Asked Mrs. Fuzzleworth. "4, shouted Camila Capybara without even bothering to raise her paw. "And furthermore, 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 8 is 16, and 243 plus 125 is 368. Later, when Mrs. Fuzzleworth asked, "What's the capital of—" Camila interrupted, "New York, Albany, population 295,594. And during science, in answer to the question, "What part of the plant is below the ground?" Camila Capybara danced on her desk and sang, "Root, root, rooty toot toot." Yep, thought all the other rodents. She's smarter than we are too. They all felt very, very uncomfortable. Every afternoon, just before the final recess, Mrs. Fuzzleworth drew a name from her hat to see who would be the leader for their favorite game, Simon Says. She scrunched her eyes closed and jiggled the hat. Would it be Hairy Hamster, Minnie Feet Mouse, Grizzle Frizz Guinea Pig? Could it be Mean Smart Big Camilla Capybara? Miss Fuzzleworth's paw reached in and pulled out the name of Wadney Wat. The bell rang, and there was a wild scurry for the door, and Camila Capybara was the first on the playground, having trampled the others in her path. To Wadney, she looked especially scary. What would she do when she heard him speak? Breathe, Capybara, breath in his face, or tie him up in his own tail, or even pounce on him. The tiny, trembling leader of the game stood before the eager players, his head well inside his jacket, and squeaked, "Wadney says, read the sign," while the other rodents read, "P.S. 142 Elementary School for Rodents." Camila began pulling up weeds around the sign and wildly flinging them hither and yon till she was clear up to her teeth in dirt. The other rodents began to smile. Wadney says, whap your paws around your head. He peeked a little peek out of his jacket and saw whap, whap, whappity slappity whap. Camilla was whapping her paws around her head so hard she became dizzy, gave herself a headache, and had to sit down. The other rodents couldn't help giggling. Wadney says, wing around the wosy. Camilla put her arms out like wings and made an airplane noise. Nrrr. But what was the wosy? What was the wosy? By now, Wadney's voice was stronger and his head was entirely out of his jacket. Wake the leaves! Nobody moved. Wadney says, wake the leaves! While Harry, Minifeet, Grizzlefrizz, and the others busied themselves raking, Camille Capybara grabbed one leaf. Wake up! She yelled. She snatched another. Come on, you, up, up, up. And another, rise and shine. And another, boo. By now, all the other rodents were squealing with laughter, all but Camilla, who frowned. Stupid leaves, they won't wake up. And why is everybody laughing at her? Such bullies. In a voice so strong he had to hold his own ears, Wadney called, Wadney says, go west. The rodents collapsed in a happy heap for a rest. Go west. Camilla Capybara, feeling very smart that she could tell directions by the sun, said, all right, I shall go west. And then she added, so there. West she stomped. Forever. She was gone. And from that day on, the pupils from PS 142 Elementary School for Rodents never teased Wadney again. He was their hero. Hooray for Wadney Wat, they cried. Woot woot, woody toot toot. The end.